Is Haiti on the brink of collapse? Armed gangs have effectively taken over the capital and locked the prime minister out of the country, triggering his resignation. So what will happen in Haiti? And is there a way forward to build lasting stability? We'll discuss this and more in an UpFront special. Haiti is in crisis. The Caribbean nation has been under a state of emergency after armed gangs launched coordinated attacks against government institutions, forcing sitting Prime Minister Ariel Henry to resign. Meanwhile, there's been talk about potential foreign intervention to quell the violence, a move many see would continue a long tradition of failed interference by outside powers. But what are the alternatives? And what is the road forward to stability in the country? Here to speak with us from Port-au-Prince is journalist Monique Kleska. From Vancouver, author and professor of global race at the University of British Columbia, Jemima Pierre. And here in the studio with me is Deputy Program Director for Latin America and the Caribbean with the International Crisis Group, Renata Segura. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to start with you, Monique. You're on the ground. What are you seeing? What are conditions like right now?
Conditions are catastrophic. I went out yesterday, and when I went out yesterday, I saw a body on the ground. There, I passed a car that had several bodies in it because it had had an accident, because the gangs had been in my area, in my neighborhood 2 days ago. And it was, everybody's on edge, everybody's stressed, everybody is absolutely terrified they may come back. Yesterday, another gang, it appears, was also in another town, Pétionville, maybe about 20 minutes from where I am. And they terrorized the population in various neighborhoods in that area. So the situation is that the gangs control pretty much the whole. People said 80%, but I believe now it's up from the 80%. They control the capital city. Port-au-Prince is on edge, and it is suffering, and it is bursting. But I must add one thing, and it's important. There is resistance, because as I left my home, there were barricades, and every few meters, there were different barricades, meaning the population is organizing itself so that to either prevent the gangs from coming or to retard them coming.
Renata, I'm hearing Monique talk about the situation. She describes it as catastrophic. And a big issue here is the gangs, she says. 80% is what reports say the gang control amount is in Port-au-Prince. I'm hearing Monique say it might even be higher on the ground. A lot of people use that as a reason for demanding foreign involvement. The problem is there's a long and tumultuous history of foreign involvement in Haiti, whether it's UN missions that have failed, whether it's the United States meddling at various times. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, ideally, this would have been addressed just by the Haitian National Police and the Haitian security forces. However, what we have seen is a deterioration of the security and political situation in the last 2 years and a half since the assassination of President Moïse that really at this point leaves no option but for the world to step in and help Haiti. I think there is a significant...
What does that mean? What does that mean, the world stepping in and helping Haiti? Tell me a little bit more about what you mean.
So, interim Prime Minister Henry has asked the United Nations for help, and the Security Council passed a resolution to send a multinational support mission that will support the Haitian police in fighting the gangs. So that is not a UN peacekeeping mission. We're not talking about blue helmets. We're talking about a mission formed by multiple countries that would send police, not military, to support the Haitian National Police. That is what is sort of in preparations at this point. Obviously, the crisis of the last few weeks has made this difficult. However, I do think that there is a reason for hope at this point. As we all know, Prime Minister Henry said that he would resign once this transitional government that is being prepared is in place. And if he does, one of the main worries that we had was that a mission would come and prop up what was a very illegitimate leader. with him out of the picture and a new consensual government, I'm hoping, and I would like to hear what Monique and others have to say about this, the Haitians will be more welcoming of this force that would be seen as really trying to help Haitians get out of the control of the gangs.
So that brings me to Jemima. I'm curious to know what you would say about that idea of Haitians being more inclined to welcome these forces. And I know in the past you've said what intervention means for Haiti, what it has always meant is death and destruction. Would this situation make you change your thinking on that at all?
I actually think this situation is worse. Think about the way the UN so-called peacekeeping mission that was in Haiti that lasted 13 years from 2004 to 2017. The misery caused by the UN forces, the rapes, the murders, the cholera. This mission is explicitly a non-UN mission, which means that they're not even under the purview of the UN. The UN still owes Haiti reparations for the cholera. The UN helped destroy what was there. And so what people see are foreigners coming in once again with guns drawn on them. And to me, for the so-called international community, and here let's be specific about who we're talking about when we say the international community, it's the same international community that is behind, that is the cause of our problem, that had upheld an illegitimate government, appointed Ariel Henry, and this is US, France, Canada, and Brazil, the core group. And so for me to have these same people be part of the solution or to be deciding what happens to Haiti, to make a decision about what the solution is, to me is absolutely unacceptable. And for people to sit here and say, well, the international needs to come help Haiti when they're the ones that started the fire. It's like having an arsonist come in and asking the same arsonist to put out the fire. It's unacceptable.
Does it make a difference to you that, a couple of weeks ago, it was Prime Minister Henry himself, along with Kenyan President William Ruto, who signed an agreement to get Kenyan police officers there?
Prime Minister Henry has no legitimacy. He does, according to the Constitution, he's not even supposed to be signing any agreement. He was not supposed to ask for anything. He was imposed on us. There is no legitimate person to actually make these decisions to have foreign forces coming in. If you have a foreign force coming in that is a non-UN mission, you're basically asking for you're basically saying that you're sending foreign mercenaries into the country. There has to be something different than this. And the US, France, Canada cannot keep acting the way that they've been acting the past 20 years when it comes to dealing with Haitian people. It's unacceptable.
Renata, want to jump in?
It's understandable that what she's saying, that Haitians have this history of interventions that have been failed. And I think that is a very legitimate question. But I think it is also a little bit naive, given the situation being as dire as it is. At Crisis Group, we speak daily with hundreds of Haitians across Port-au-Prince and abroad. We visit the country multiple times. And without trying to be disrespectful, what we hear from the people in Cité du Soleil, in the areas that are, under daily harassment from the gangs, is like, it's easy for people who are not in here to say that they don't want an international help.
But Renata, as a foreigner to Haiti, let me just say, I have family that had to leave Croix-des-Bouquets and move to the countryside, okay? I know. I'm a Haitian person, and I get phone calls and I talk to people. So that's the first thing. The so-called international community has created a humanitarian crisis in Haiti. We need to first accept that. And so when we tell you that the last thing we want is to have guns from foreigners pointed at our people, you have to listen to that too. I do think those two things are not incompatible.
So let's think through this. And Monique, I want to bring this to you as well. I mean, there are over 200 gangs currently operating in Haiti, as you know. They have access to large quantities of guns, ammunition, money. There's also been documented evidence of the relationships between these organizations and police forces. Meanwhile, thousands of Haitians have been forced to flee their homes because of this violence. If we take foreign intervention off the table for the reasons that Jemima has laid out, the long and failed history of it, what do we look to as a solution? How do we respond to this? Something has to happen. What's the something?
Yeah, I think we must go back to why the gangs have proliferated to this moment. They have worked, the politicians, the people in power in Haiti as well as the economic elite of Haiti, have financed the gangs. There are UN reports that say that they have created gangs, they have armed gangs, they have empowered gangs, so that now the gangs have felt freer and are now taking over and ruling things. But I think it is important to say that. That is the first part. The second part is that since 2021, we have proposed a solution. The Montana Accord is an agreement that came after 6 months of discussion, of listening to all political parties and various civil society groups. And we did a synthesis, the smallest common denominator, and that was the accord, which stipulated a 2-year transition. It also stipulated that we would have a national conference so Haitians could speak about what it is that they want. And it stipulated also that there would be elections. Now, having said this, what happened? The people who had put Ariel Henry in power, meaning the United States, the Canada, France, the UN, and the international, in a little group they call themselves the core group, they had put him in power. So it was impossible to move anything forward. We have spent 2.5 years trying to convince the foreign powers who held Ariel Henry with a string where he was, killing us, raping us, and kidnapping us. No, nobody did anything while we were suffering, while we were dying. Until 2 weeks
So Monique,
ago.
I want to just drill down on this just a little bit more quickly. So I understand you saying foreign intervention is a non-starter. What stops the immediate crisis? What stops the gangs? What stops the violence now?
I think, first of all, we need a political agreement. The crisis has gotten so bad because the current crisis started in 2018. It did not start with the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse, it created a void and the crisis got worse. But it started in 2018 when people were asking for social justice and the end to corruption. Now, what we need now is a political accord. We need for Haitians to come together, different social sectors, as well as political parties, left to right, to come together and decide on an agreement.
Renata, there are organizations like the G9 and a number of rival groups that have now allied together. And part of what I was thinking about is how much should we think of them as stakeholders in whatever political accord we come up with? And also, just big picture, what does it mean to have these groups starting to ally together? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think a number of things of what has been mentioned, and I think we need to be able to hold sort of separate truths that happen simultaneously, even though they're contradictory. I mean, I think Jemima and Monique are absolutely right about the way in which the international community has historically behaved with Haiti. It's shameful, right? And the way in which the elites, the political and the economic elites, have been feeding and using these gangs for decades. This is not something new. We know that even Duvalier had the gangs. All of this is incredibly true.
And you have no reason to believe that that would be any different now.
I mean, we know that the sanctions that the US, Canada had placed on some of the elites that were sponsoring the gangs has sort of sent a chill effect, but we are not naive, and we know that the connections between the gangs and the politicians are there. They're very strong, and absolutely there is reason to believe that what has been happening in the last 2 weeks may be pushed by political interest. Like, I think the crisis of security and the crisis of governance have been completely interconnected in Haiti for the last few years, right? And there has been an effort to come to a more agreeable governance solution in which people from different parties and Montana and others in civil society felt identified. The CARICOM meeting that happened in Jamaica a few days ago brought together maybe not all of the stakeholders, but some of the stakeholders. And now there is the possibility of creating a government that will be more consensual and represents the needs of all of the Haitian people. We have to say around 80% of Haitians in the recent polls, understanding how difficult it is to do a poll right now, are supportive of a multinational support mission. Why?
I disagree with that because we have to know who does these polls.
Obviously,
who does these polls,
it's impossible.
Let's not
To
do
know.
polls on Haiti supporting multinational. Oh, please, really? No, I want to know who did the polls and who's paying these corporations. This is unacceptable. People throw out these numbers like we're supposed to just believe them. The last poll I saw was done by an NGO that was paid by the UN. Come on, or the business elite of Haiti that said, that supported the poll. I reject that. But I know it's not 80% that want foreigners to come into Haiti with guns drawn.
But Shamima, might that give some indication that at least a significant portion of civil society wants that intervention, even if it's not 80%?
Well, but it depends how many people. When you say 80%, if I poll 10 people and 8 people say yes, that's 80%. So tell me, how many people were polled? In what parts of the country? Was it in Pétionville or was it in Solido? Was it in Croix-des-Bouquets? Was it in the rural areas? Who was polled and how? Was the poll in English? Was the poll in French? Was the poll in Creole?
Fair enough. Speaking of polls, I do need to pivot because I want to talk a little bit more about elections. Again, on March 12th, as we know, the de facto leader, Ariel Henry, announced his resignation after effectively being locked out of the country. And now Haitian leaders are rushing to lay the groundwork for new elections in the midst of deteriorating conditions. But before his resignation, and I'm going to go to you with this, Monique, Henry had committed to holding elections in 2025. Can we expect to see elections now in the post-Henry era in 2025, sooner or later? What do you think, Monique?
Okay, let me lay it down to you. Elections will not be possible in 2025. Henry lied, and he knew he was lying. So this is impossible. The first thing. The second thing is that in order to have elections in Haiti, you have to have at least an electoral pool, know who are the people who will vote. And you also have to have a system. There has not been a census done in over 10 years in Haiti. So any intelligent person will tell you it will take a minimum of 18 months to organize elections in Haiti. Now, having said this, I told you I saw dead bodies on the street yesterday. So there is no way now that you could ask anyone to go to elections. So let us put election aside now, because elections are not the solution right now. Elections are necessary, absolutely, yes, but elections cannot be held in the conditions we have right now.
Let's talk then about what leadership could look like. If now's not the time, as I'm hearing you say, Monique, for elections. You say they're important, but now that's not the most immediate and urgent need. Out of what direction, out of what sector do you expect leadership? Shamima, is there a person who you think could help lead Haiti out of this crisis? How do you imagine a leadership emerging?
Well, I imagine a leadership that emerges that actually doesn't, that is not spearheaded by the U.S., France, and Canada. But the discussion that's happening in Jamaica began with the terms established by the U.S. I'd like to point out that other communities actually in Latin America have actually stepped up. So the incoming president of CELAC, the Central American and Latin American nations, Zamora, the president of Honduras, just recently came out and said she thinks there should be a political solution that actually does not necessarily include the U.S., France, and Canada, and that she was planning to meet with Colombia and other friends of Haiti to actually figure out a way to actually be part of the conversation. What's happened in the U.S., France, and Canada have hijacked the conversation and not allow other people to have it, or even if they are having a conversation, it's under the terms of the U.S. And the truth is, you can have this commission. If people don't see it as legitimate, it's a temporary solution, and this will flare up again 2-3 years from now, 5 years from now, because they're going down the same path. So I think Monique is right. I think the Montana Accord had a chance. A lot of people saw it as a particular kind of elite grouping, but then, you have they were talking to all these young people, and these young people from the local communities were part of the Accord. They were having conversations. I actually think we should go back to that.
There's also
And what
would
I
like
see
to
now
say
does not
something.
include them,
Yeah.
and this is the problem.
There's also someone else who has been raised as somebody who could be part of this conversation, maybe even a leadership part of the conversation. I want to get all of your takes on this. People have talked about Guy Philippe. Oh God, I hear the groans and see the eye rolls already. But Guy Philippe, he's a former police officer who served time in the U.S. for drug trafficking and who previously led the coup d'état against President Aristide. They talk about him as a potential candidate to lead Haiti. When asked about wanting to be president, Mr. Philippe said that he would run, saying, quote, "If my people believe in me, I will be their leader." Renata, what say you?
No, I think that is a really horrendous idea at the moment. Look, I think that what Monique has identified for a very long time as the core problem of Haiti is a corruption in its elites. And putting Philippe in power right now will be just replacing one corrupt with another corrupt, with a person that has openly said that has direct gang, links to the gangs. I think connection to the gangs could be useful so that eventually we can have a conversation.
Also.
Yeah.
I want to quickly say, can we just stop here? Why is it that when we're saying the problem in the U.S. is a problem of imperialism and intervention, but people like to say the problem is the corruption of the elites. Yes, the elites are corrupt, but so is the international community. Can we also say that? Can we also say some of the moves of the international community are gangster moves? Right? If we want to really talk about this, because that's not the key problem to the U.S. in Haiti is not just corruption. The U.S. is full of corrupt politicians. The key problem is an ongoing and nonstop intervention because Haitians are paying for a revolution from 200 years ago. Let's be clear about that. Of course, they're bad people who are in political class, but once we say it's corruption in Haiti, we leave out the culpability of the international community, particularly French, U.S., and Canada. I just wanted to say that because it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Yes, Monique.
I would like to come in with two things. There are thousands of Haitians who are committed, who are intelligent, who are strategic, who have brilliant ideas in terms of moving the country forward. So I think I call them a virtuous circle of about thousands of people, whether they are in Port-au-Prince, whether in their provinces, some of them are in the diaspora. I think it is extremely important not to say who as one person, but what we're talking about people who are not corrupt, who are not criminals, people who are honest, people who are strategic. Haiti is full of them.
How do those people get elevated to leadership, not against the backdrop just of gangs and internal corruption, but to Jemima's point, if there are Western colonial powers whose primary goal is to exploit and extract from Haiti, will they allow that virtue circle into that space? And what do we do to create room for that kind of leadership to emerge?
One of the things that we are doing is actually working so that we can control the agenda. We know it's difficult because right now, as Jemima has said, and as Renata agreed, we are basically led by the United States, France, and Canada. But I want to say another thing, and that is important. 65% of Haiti's population is under 24 years old. And until we decide to invest in them, invest in their health, in their education, in their job training, in their development, in providing infrastructure, you will be repeating this vicious cycle of gangs. That doesn't mean there will not be gangs, because you have gangs in Chicago, you have in New York, you have in LA, you have in Toronto. But what it means is you are investing in the development to reduce the massive inequality that exists in Haiti. There are too many poor people here. we need to provide them with jobs. We need to provide them with housing.
All right, that'll have to be the last word. I want to thank you all for a very, very spirited conversation. Monique, Jemima, Renata, thanks so much for joining me. Everybody, that is our show. Up Front, we'll be back next week.